very warm welcome to BNSN The Stock Game. I'm Kamya Verma and the markets at this point of time holding out quite smartly, 85.86 on the last tick.
Okay, that's the call coming in on the frontline indices, looking very smart. But let's take it straight then to the stock game. And here's how it's played. A portfolio building exercise where our three experts get a notional amount of 5 lakhs. They allocate this money on a total of 4 stocks, 1 stock from the F&O space. There's a compulsory churn of 2 stocks every single day, and at the end of the week, we'll tally up who has the strongest portfolio and declare that person as the winner of the stock game. Time to introduce our participants for the exciting game show. Ruchit Jain, Technical Analyst, Equities Angel Broking is with us. Siddhartha Chat, Country Head, Trustline Securities, and our very own Mitesh Thakkar. Thanks very much for joining in, gentlemen. Let's start off, Mitesh, by discussing the first sell recommendation, and Asian Paints it is.
So Asian Paints basically had a good intraday high before the numbers came in, and we then saw a sharp correction. I think typically it meant that there was news-based selling. With that correction, I think there was some breakdown on the intraday indicators as well, and I suspect the stock can decline further to about levels of 790 to about 792, which is my day price target. And for the trade, I would suggest a stop loss placed just above 826 over here.
Okay, that's the call coming in on Asian Paints, and the stop loss has been triggered on that counter. But let's discuss DLF as well, Mitesh. That's your second pick, a sell call there. If you can bring your rationale to us.
Yeah, so DLF is a stock which is actually going through a very negative setup on the momentum indicator charts. My sense is that it will soon break below the recent swing lows of 106, 105, and once that breakdown happens, I am looking at a strong decline to about levels of 96, 95. So I've chosen 96 as my day price target, and the stop loss on a short position should be at about levels of 110 or just above that.
Okay, Ruchit, let's discuss your first 2 recommendations. And upbeat in the auto space on Hero Moto, what's the call there? And what kind of levels will you be watching out from Wipro?
Yeah, in Hero Moto, if we see last week it had given a breakout from a falling trend line, and post that, although we are not seeing big up move, but slowly it's moving up, wherein if we just observe last 4-5 trading session, it is not even breaking its previous low. So I think the stock is in an uptrend, and in the near term we are expecting an up move in this stock. I have placed a stop loss below 2653 for trading perspective, and target of 2715 in near term. My second call is a buy call in Wipro. We have seen that the stock had given a breakout from a diamond pattern last week, and since then it is consistently moving up. So this high top high bottom formation has started after after a downtrend. We saw a consolidation move, and now again high top high bottom, which indicates that the stock has now resumed the uptrend. I'm expecting a target of 590 and just gave up with a stop loss below 566.
Coming in on Hero MotoCorp as well as Wipro. And Siddharth, let's discuss your first 2 picks, which is a sell call on HDIL futures as well as a sell call on Tata Steel, where your target price has been met. The stock did move in the direction you expected it to. So what's your rationale?
Well, HDIL would be a case of while technically weak, also the case that I believe property prices around Mumbai are depressed and likely to get depressed more. So the likes of Indiabulls Real Estate or HDIL will face a bit of selling pressure. As far as Tata Steel is concerned, it's weak. It doesn't have a chance to stand out in this market, and it's a continuation pattern on the technical charts on lower bottom formations. Forget the high part of it, high doesn't happen. So it will be a sell, or the buy of put will be well considered at every point of time.
Okay, that's a call coming in from Siddhartha on his picks. Let's run you through the calculators then. And let's start off then with Ruchit Jain. Well, for the day, he's got 1 target price achieved. That's on Vedanta. Remember, 2 buy calls and 2 sells. And he's got pretty much everything working in his favor in the session right now, barring an SBI. Okay, so it's a total gain on the portfolio. Let's move right on then and talk a little bit about Siddhartha Chatterjee's. And for the day, he's got the target achieved on Tata Steel and Sea Entertainment. The other 2 counters are currently in the red, and he too seems to be sitting on a gain right now despite the crack in select stocks, 5,300 rupees. And finally then to Mitesh Thakkar, well, unfortunately stepped out on Asian Paints. That counter is doing fairly well today. 3 out of 4 are in the red, so it's not the best of days, but he's still managing to eke out gains on his total portfolio. But now that's come off, so to just about 1400 rupees. By the way, it's Ruchit Jain who's now taken over. He's in the leading spot, making about 10,500 rupees, followed by Siddhartha and Mitesh. Time for that short break. Do come right back as we get you some more recommendations.
The point-to-point growth is 37% in the loan book. Even though we have registered a 15% growth on point-to-point basis, we personally feel that this may get corrected during this quarter and next quarter.
We are at the cusp of history.
A bull market is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
India is the best emerging market.
You seize it or you lose it.
There is a buying opportunity.
So what are the multi-baggers for this bull run?
Consumer IP and
Find out from the smartest investors.
It's a roaring bull market.
Buy into the stocks that are on a roll.
Market has given very good return.
And make your fortune from this multi-year bull run.
The best bull market that India has ever had.
Riding the bull at 2 p.m. on every trading day. Only on ET Now.
It's your right to save big on Giordano and Geo watches. The right to save watch sale is here. Save up to 50%. Available exclusively on Flipkart and leading watch retailers. Only from the 18th to the 22nd of July. Ask for your right to save big.
Highland Blue packaged drinking water. Be high on life.
It's your right to save big on Giordano and Geo watches. The right to save watch sale is here. Save up to 50%. Available exclusively on Flipkart and leading watch retailers. Only from the 18th to the 22nd of July. Ask for your right to save big.
Welcome back. You're watching the Stock Game where we're discussing our experts' portfolio. And Mitesh, let's discuss your third pick, a sell call on IDBI Bank. Over the last 1 month, the stock has gained good 3%. And what's the kind of momentum that you expect from IDBI?
Yeah, IDBI had a minor breakdown on the intraday chart. Some very strong sell signals and negative crossovers of indicators has taken place. So it could retest the recent, intraday swing lows of around 60. That's my day price target, and I would suggest keeping a stop loss just about levels of 65.10.
Okay, and moving away from that, let's focus in on result candidate JSW Energy. Mitesh, what do the charts look like?
Yeah, my fourth and final call is a sell call on JSW Energy in the cash segment. Again, a stock which has been underperforming, went through some kind of a breakdown yesterday. My sense is that it's triggered a minor downtrend, and we could see levels of around 92, possibly 89 on the downside. I've chosen 92 as my day price target, and the stop loss here is about 99.35.
Okay, that's the call coming in on JSW Energy, and a bit quiet in today's session. In fact, on the downside, losing close to 2%. Ruchit, let's discuss SBI futures, a sell call at that. Why a bearish stance on SBI?
Yeah, so SBI in yesterday's trading session has given a breakdown from a channel which it was forming in last 2 to 3 weeks, and it has also given a close below that the trend line of that channel. So we are expecting a minor corrective move in this, although we don't have much aggressive targets on the downside in this, but with a stop loss of 270, I have placed a target of 257 where the stock could head in a day or two. And my second call was a sell call in Vedanta. Probably the stock has been forming this low top low bottom formation and is in a back grip from last many days. And if we just observe then in recent past, it has been giving gap down openings and moving down with good volumes. So we are still bearish on the stock. On weekly charts, it is also now given a breakdown from a triangle formation if you observe the long-term charts. So there is still no signs of reversal and the stock may continue to move down going ahead.
Okay, that's a call on Vedanta, and fortunately the target price has been achieved. As Ruchit, you believe that the counter is in for some more downside and you've placed a target at 131. In fact, let's cut across to the GST panel head speaking.
With us, GST panel head, Mr. Bhupendra. We have with us the head of the GST panel, Mr. Bhupendra Yadav, speaking to us. So, my first question to you: how big a breakthrough do you think this will be, given that this is a legislation that has been in the pipeline for a fairly long time?
Yes, this legislation is pending for last 10 years. And that is the reason earlier it was passed by the Lok Sabha, but there are some aspect of this legislation which is for the purpose, some review is necessary for there, and the select committee examined more than 58 organizations, experts and the views of the states also, and after the detailed deliberation the committee approved this bill with the one amendment, that is only for the purpose of the compensation to the states. The rest of the amendment which is earlier suggested by the Lok Sabha, which is before the Rajya Sabha, is accepted by the committee.
So do you think the compensation clause will actually squeeze centre's revenues further because states need to be compensated for 5 years?
No, it is not like that. That is already there was a clause for up to 5 years. We are suggested only for 5 years. It is not so big that it will create a loss, and there will be more revenue will be generated after this GST regime will come, and it will be in benefit of the consumer also. It will be in the benefit of the economy of the country also, because it reduce the cascading effect, it reduce the indirect taxes, all these things. So for that purpose, I think it is not a loss to the state and centre too.
Congress has called this bill actually half-baked, saying that there are a lot of exceptions, and in fact has said that the revenue neutral rate should be fixed at 18%. What are your thoughts on that?
When you bring a constitutional amendment, you can't fix a cap on a GST, because sometimes economy is so much growing and there is so much exercising in the economy that you can't fix a cap. And when you fix the cap, again you will come for the constitutional amendment. So better to fixing a cap on the GST. It is better that this power we will give to the GST council, and the state and centre both will be the member in the council. So they will decide according to the situation.
My last question to you: will there be an amendment as far as the 1% tax is concerned? Will there be an amendment on Section 12 as well?
There is no amendment suggested by the committee.
And how hopeful are you that the bill will actually be passed in the current session?
We are very hopeful, because it is in the interest of the country.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the word coming in from GST panel head in conversation with ET Now's Gauri Dwivedi. He's saying that the GST legislation has been pending for the past 10 years and report recommends compensation to states for 5 years, and he expects more states to generate more revenues as GST is implemented. Well, that's the word coming in from GST panel head.
Okay, but let's move away from that and address some results on your screens. Bajaj Finance has put out a profit of close to 270 crore rupees, and that's a pretty solid set of numbers. Remember, we were going in with expectations of 265. Okay, so pretty much in line. The comparable figure on a year-on-year basis is about 211 crore rupees. So it has been an uptick of about 20% and I think the street should be pleased with that number. Rightly so, the stock is gaining traction. Of course, we'll be watching out for the net income as well, what they're likely to deliver in terms of net interest margins as well as the loan growth. But for now, I think 276 crore rupees, is it 276 or 270? Just going to ascertain that number, and it's been a pretty much a beat or in line with what the street was expecting. So a good set of numbers right now, and watch out for what they deliver in terms of the net income as well. 928 crores, that is what the ET Now poll was suggesting, and that would have also been a good bump up versus what they delivered last year, about close to 744 crore rupees. The provisions, that might be a bit of a point to watch out for as well. They're expected to rise on a sequential basis. Loan growth is expected to be steady, 28 to 30%. That is what we're expecting, and it's going to be driven by the consumer as well as the SME loan growth book. The trends in the net interest margins, what they deliver in terms of asset quality, that's also going to be important. 1650 crore rupees, that's what the total income is. So that's indeed a beat from what we were expecting. Above that level of 1100, given that 928 crore rupees was the expectation. This is versus 1240 crore rupees is what they've delivered. That's the total income, in fact, that Bajaj Finance rather has put out. The stock's a bit all over the place right now. It gained a little bit of momentum, now looks like it's cooling off, but nonetheless it's holding out in the green at 5,127. Watch out for the trends as well in terms of the outlook from the management on whether or not the kind of assets under management growth of close to 30%, if that can or cannot be sustained, because in the last quarter it was up by about 35% at 32,410 crore rupees. Asset quality in the last quarter, net NPA stood at 1.51%, and the gross NPAs for the fourth quarter stood at about 0.45%. So asset quality trend is going to be an important comparable. But for now, on the face of it, 27% higher in terms of the profit at 270 crore rupees, and the total income has come in higher by about 33%, 1,650 crores. Look at the stock price and it's clearly reacting to those numbers. For now, it's sustaining smartly in the green, a good bump up, and even the volume chart will be fairly supportive of. So clearly it's a positive set of numbers from Bajaj Finance in the first quarter. And of course, watch out for the net interest margins, because it looks like even on that parameter you might see a good improvement. Okay, and that is the ET Now earnings scorecard, something that gives you an immediate snapshot of the numbers, and it looks like above estimates on profit, but asset quality perhaps has risen. Poonam's here to give us a better assessment and do some number crunching. Poonam.
Well, Avan, just on the P&L front, the P&L looks good. The net interest income is pretty much above the estimates, growing approximately around a 31% in fact increase coming in on the NII front, and NII of 979 crores versus 747 crore in the same period last year. In terms of the profits also, we are seeing a good growth coming in terms of the profit, a profit growth of 31%. So on both these parameters, it is pretty much above the estimates. We are seeing, of course, higher loan loss provisions during this quarter. This was expected that we would see higher provisions. NPAs have risen during this quarter again. The gross NPA stand at 1.69%, and also the provision cover is standing at 68%. We are seeing the net NPA standing at 0.55%. So on a QOQ basis, there is a rise in terms of the NPAs, but overall the numbers are looking good. So in terms of the asset quality, it was expected slightly that we may slight rise in terms of the NPAs, but the overall PNL does look good. Even in terms of the AUM, this is what we were again looking out for. The growth in AUM stands at 31% at 35,557 crore is the number on the AUM front. So good results except for the asset quality, which is slightly a seasonal trend.
Okay, Poonam, thanks very much for breaking it down for us. Asset quality looks like that's a bit of a problem for Bajaj Finance, as the gross NPAs have in fact deteriorated. But the stock is holding out in the green, come off from the day's high. We're completely out of time here on the stock. Thanks so much for watching. Coming up next, Market Sense.